We up and I'm feeling like a new me. Stacking new sets, some new E. NFTs, all of them you need. Back in my zone like 2-3. All time high, hit a new peak. Let's go. Homie, the Bulls is back. I said the Bulls is back.
GM, welcome back to the channel. In this one, we're taking a look at some AI coins. I've got two for you that are currently out and tradable on the market. I also own a bag of them, so full disclosure. And the second two are unreleased coins coming in 2024, which I think have big potential as well. So if you enjoyed the content today, make sure you do subscribe to the channel, press all the buttons down below, and we'll jump on in. So just to kick things off with 563's thread here. So if you're unaware, AI obviously encompasses a huge plethora and kind of spectrum of different protocols. So starting at 1A here, he's listed out the notable projects under GPU networks. You've probably heard of the likes of Render, Akash, AIOZ, which we're going to cover in today's video as well. AI training, we're looking at BitTensor, GENSYN, Autonomous and others. Data gathering, data aggregation, ZK machine learning for verifiable workloads, AI models and marketplaces. And then we continue down, AI enhanced apps like PAL, you've probably heard of that one. AI enhanced DeFi like Mosaic, we covered that one. AI assisted building via large language modules, we've got some listed here, and AI enabled consumer applications. So what 563 has done is probably spend too many hours researching hundreds and hundreds of protocols, but he's broken down for you there some of the real standouts in those various categories. So in terms of that, if you want to start in place to do some research from, that thread is where you would start and then work from there. So all the ones covered today are in his thread. We're going to start off here with Render Network. So this is my biggest bag in AI. And as you can see, having a big day here, of course, due to the fact NVIDIA earnings came out yesterday. They had a beat on earnings quite substantially, and it sent the market for NVIDIA. Now, NVIDIA actually produces the chips, produces the GPUs. They have something crazy like 80% market share. And that stock is like, I think it's pushing towards something crazy like 1.8 or 2 trillion in market cap, just an outrageous number. Render doesn't produce chips, but it is essentially a marketplace bringing together those who have computation and those who wish to actually rent said computation. So this is essentially the marketplace for GPUs. So Render gets a bit of, the left curve thesis, which is NVIDIA pumps like crazy. Render is the kind of blockchain version, if you will, for NVIDIA, hence it follows suit to a degree. These guys are also partnered with Apple. What they actually focus upon is the rendering of images and video. Of course, we've just seen Sora with some recent video images, and I'm pretty sure that for most of us, it probably blew our mind to some degree. I'm certainly was really impressed by Sora. It was streets ahead of what I thought was possible at this stage, but AI is advancing very, very quick. So in terms of video or image rendering, Render Network obviously has a key role to play in the market here. They recently released this as their stats page on Render Foundation with their burn mint model. And you can see there's 34,800 render have been burned thus far since this went live. But what I like to think of Render as is one of the blue chips in the actual AI space right now and a real expert in the video kind of rendering realm. So if you think Sora is, we've topped in terms of the potential for AI there, we haven't, obviously. Things are going to keep developing at a crazy pace. And I think Render with their GPU and their GPU market is going to do really well off the back of that. And I just think it'll follow along with NVIDIA. Here's the weekly chart. This thing is now looking really bullish. It doesn't actually encompass the full market history of Render token though, because the all-time high was back in 2021, I believe. $8.78, so November of 2021. So it's not there yet, but it's a breath away from actually going and clipping that all-time high. So maybe that'll happen quite soon because NVIDIA is actually pumping right now as we're filming. And then a bit more left curve thesis here. Render at 721, NVIDIA at, let's actually refresh this live. This will be crazy. I think it's pushing towards 800, 778. For Render to hit the market cap of NVIDIA right now, it would be a 668x away, which is huge. Of course, it's never going to hit that number, but the kind of disparity between the two. And you can see it down there. 2 billion market cap for the crypto equivalent, we'll just call it 2 trillion market cap, literally just under the entire crypto market cap. Crypto market cap is 2.05, and that is 1.913 trillion, which is just crazy stuff. And if you just think about the numbers involved here, Sam Altman has publicly requested between 5 and 7 trillion of funding to produce more chips. So we know there's a global shortage of GPUs out there. And so this is infrastructure that is going to get bid like crazy. So you want to take advantage of said bubble. And I think 2 billion, 3 billion, whatever it is, pales in comparison to big T's, trillions of dollars going into the likes of Nvidia here. So I think the bubble we'll see in the assets and the likes of these market leaders like BitTensor, of course, like Render here, we're probably going to see some crazy, crazy numbers. So that is the kind of first pick, the blue chip for me. Next up, we have AIOZs, so AIOZ as we're going to call it. Over the recent term here, it looks very bullish indeed, and it has totally bottomed out. If we just pull up Max here, you can actually see that bottoming structure where sellers just were exhausted. This was, funnily enough, part of the paid IDO over on Ignition back in 2021. I believe I did participate with this. And yeah, it just got dumped and nuked. Token unlocks probably coming in somewhere around here, nuke again. But this thing, I would suggest anyone who had tokens who wanted to sell had such a long period to get rid of their bag. I mean, July 16th, 2022 to November the 4th, 2023. That's a hell of a long hold. So you've either got determined bag holders or everyone's just absolutely cheated the project here at this point. So FTV is around $300 million, and it has fully emitted its tokens, except for there is an inflation rate associated with the token itself. Now let's just break down what AIOZ actually is and does. So this is using the Blockmates article that Grant did. He put pen to paper on this bad boy. Give it a read, subscribe to Blockmates. I work directly with these boys, and they are cooking something special, or we are cooking something special, because there's going to be a lot of alpha coming out of this camp. So AIOZ is a distributed infrastructure network allowing anyone, anywhere, anytime access to decentralized services like storage, think Filecoin, AI computation, think the likes of Render, those GPUs, content distribution, video on demand and streaming services, as well as IFPS pinning. So the underpinning of the actual tech here, we have the blockchain, AIOZ blockchain. It is a Cosmos-based chain, but it is fully EVM compatible. So you have the kind of EVM fluency of most people, but they use the Cosmos SDK in the backgrounds. And then they have the AIOZ DCDN, and that stands for the Decentralized Content Delivery Network. So they have multiple services in here. So this, again, like all of these I'm going to show you, are infrastructure plays within the AI sector. I'm not personally interested in picking up like one-trick ponies that maybe, you know, could fail off the back of one thing going wrong or one competitor absolutely outshining them. I think you want to go with either the market leaders or with infrastructure plays that are going to take advantage of this boom here. So these are the web services they provide: storage services, IFPS pinning services, the streaming services, and AI computing services. So you can easily port your smart contracts into AIOZ as they are compatible with Solidity, which is the biggest programming language on planet Earth right now. You can see they have a huge distributed network of nodes, 65,000 as per this screenshot here. And this tech is called AIOZ Edge node. So you can actually run your own Edge node if you wish. And this contributes to the security, the storage capacity, the bandwidth, and of course the overall computing power of this network. If you do that, you are participating with the network. And as with delegated proof of stake, you'll be receiving AIOZ tokens as a staking reward for actually doing so, which makes up part of the overall emissions, the kind of inflationary rewards coming from AIOZ network. So edge computing refers to a network that processes the data and transactions close to its source. So of course, if you are in the UK like myself and you have one of these edge nodes, you're probably going to be helping out other people on the network who have got services they wish to utilize closer to home, as of course that will mean you're able to handle said request more quickly than someone maybe further away. So what's currently going on? Well, in terms of storage there there needs to be a lot of data storage, especially for these large language modules, these machine learning things that are going on right now. They take up a lot of storage space. So you would add to this network if you get involved. You're also going to be utilizing your CPUs and GPUs to help process transactions on the network. AI models are going to be querying you and getting you to run tasks, that kind of stuff. And of course, you're adding additional bandwidth to the AIOZ network to reduce latency for those requests. They've got AIOZ Tube, so a bit of a decentralized version of YouTube as well. They just hit on a lot of different key verticals within this market sector. So without making this a Steven Spielberg special 6-hour video, give this article a read to understand more and see if you're bullish on what they're building. For the token heads out there, the burn implementation here, 50% of all AIOZ network blockchain transactions do get burned, 5% of all node rewards get burned, 5% of all infrastructure revenues get burned, and 5% of all AIOZ native dApp revenues also get burned. We know public sale and private sale was at 1.5 pence, and now it's currently trading at 28 cents. So people are up a lot from there, but they have had their tokens unlocked for quite some time now. So I do feel as if they were going to be selling, they've already sold. Hence, we had that absolute flatline death of the token throughout this whole 18-month period. So the first unreleased project here is called GENSYN, Decentralized Compute to Push the Boundaries of Machine Learning. So these guys, it's a pair of guys from the UK, Ben Fielding, and I forget the other guy's name at this moment in time. But essentially, these are gigabrains who have been working on machine learning for a long while here. And they kind of met over shared values, cypherpunk-based values, crypto-based values, if you will. And they're looking to actually create the best machine learning training that is possible via the compute network that they put together. So they kind of believe in specialization and they want to be the best in the business for what they do. And as we're going to see, there's going to be a lot of these decentralized versions of large language models. A lot of machine learning is going to be taking place from now till the end of time. And a lot of this is going to require a lot of computing power. So this, again, is an infrastructure-based play and wants to bring almost a supercluster, as they say here, of currently underused or underutilized GPU power to their network. So from the paper here, GENSYN protocol is a layer 1 trustless protocol for deep learning computation that directly and immediately rewards supply side participants for pledging their compute to the network and performing machine learning tasks. The protocol requires no administrative oversight or legal enforcement. So this, as well as IONET, which we're going to go into as well, actually just allows people to get involved with the network in a kind of decentralized manner. Whereas what you're seeing, if maybe you've got a request for a lot of computing power to be used through Amazon, they actually ask you a lot of questions. You need to complete KYC. They're almost like gatekeeping or stopping people from anonymously interacting with these kind of compute networks, which doesn't really have a great taste in my mouth when I think about that. So a lot of these deep in protocols kind of come to the fore with these crypto ideals of, you can come here and utilize us. You can also participate and add to our network as an anonymous person, as someone who just wants to bring in some compute resources, whether that be a spare MacBook here, or maybe you've got a PS5 that you're no longer using. You can join the network and add value, and for that you will get value back, typically in the tokens that they actually will come out with at some point. So GENSYN aims to be this kind of rails for compute power for machine learning. And one of the key kind of things they've honed in on is the fact that, of course, Ethereum moved from proof of work to proof of stake. They say that this is going to mean there's a lot of miners out there with powerful GPUs, like NVIDIA V100s, that no longer have a yield. And they're going to almost be this kind of outlet valve for these people to come and tap into now. So that is definitely something to really consider. As we know, mining of cryptocurrency over the last at least 5-8 years or so has been a huge business. And maybe now there's a lot of compute power on the sidelines. And it seems that the AI boom here is going to be a great outlet for those individuals to utilize their resources again and capture true value. And I'm hearing that actually providing your compute power is more profitable than actually mining most tokens out there. So we see the kind of profit incentives for miners to jump on this. Now, in terms of the costings here, they've got a cool breakdown. So if you required an hourly cost for machine learning training, V100 equivalent, AWS on demand cost you $2. Not a lot of scalability with that, but with GENSYN, they say they can do the same for 40 cents. So an 80% reduction in cost. And that, of course, should drive a lot of the people who are maybe using AWS on demand right now to come and utilize GENSYN for their machine learning. And of course, if you think about the kind of ideals of crypto, would you rather be running on AWS or a decentralized network of compute across the globe? Would you rather have Bezos have the off switch or for no one to have an off switch? I think it's a pretty clear choice. So this was a very interesting one I saw from this Galaxy Research post. And it says, BitTensor here with the decentralized AI stack. You've got, of course, BitTensor, which is very much decentralized, operates similar to, the ideals of BTC. An inference request comes in, processed by BitTensor. Then you have training. BitTensor miners process inference using models trained on GENSYN. And then the compute providers like Akash provide the GPUs on demand. And listening to Ben Fielding, one of the founders of GENSYN, he has a background in machine learning research. He spotted problems within the industry around not being able to get enough compute power, and for that compute power to be, in the hands of these centralized entities. And he saw the fact that in order for the world to move forward in an equitable manner, and for us to actually move forward as fast as we can, we need to have these networks where you can tap into large amounts of compute to train these new machine learning models. So this overall, super interesting. And they raised $43 million, led by A16Z. So enough said. Then last but not least, we have IONET here, which is building on top of Solana. GENSYN, I believe, will build on top of Polkadot, which is quite interesting. BitTensor also did choose Polkadot. Now, IONET, they are going to be known for their GPU clustering. That is their kind of main unique selling point over others. And I think they are the first on-demand clustering service ever. So super interesting. If you haven't seen the Breakpoint talk on here, you will see the founder actually spin up a cluster live on stage, which is pretty damn cool. They're also a kind of infrastructure play here, trying to bring idle or underutilized GPUs into their ecosystem where you can get paid for supplying your compute power. They have a bit of a more broader brush approach to GENSYN, which is all to do with like training. Whereas these guys here, these could be utilized for anything. Depends on what the demands are for the actual end user who's paying for the services. So if you think about decentralized large language models, you want more BitTensors, you want more ChatGPTs, but from people who aren't centralized and of clear profit motive. You want the cabal to not be involved. We're going to see more LLMs come online. We require projects like this to ensure the compute power is there for these new LLMs. And this is where the clusters come into play. Because imagine you need a shit ton of compute power. How the heck are you going to get it? If you don't own your own data center, it's going to be nigh on impossible. So again, these guys are trying to tap into that kind of hidden layer of GPU power that is out there. So that could be you with your own home computer. And we'll go through some of the numbers in a sec because it's pretty cool. And they call this the Internet of GPUs. Products-wise, IO Cloud. Products-wise, they've got IONET Cloud, Workers, and Explorer. This is kind of the blockchain Explorer, showing off all the different jobs. The Workers, this is where you would come if you sign yourself up and you want to share some of your power. You'll get paid in dollars right now, but it will be the IO coin once that goes live. And then we have the IONET Cloud here for those AI engineers to tap into. So if we just look at the coin, what's it going to be used for? There's going to be a circular economy here. IO coin will get you access into their IO SDK software development kits. So if you want to do machine learning with these guys, it's going to be a lot more streamlined if you use their own token. It's going to be a means of payments. And if you supply to the network, it will be your token of rewards. So you'll be compensated in it. Now, what they've stated as well, I think there's a 10% total fee that is taken. I think it's 5% goes to those who are supplying compute, and the other 5% goes to the kind of treasury, but it's more like they've got their own investment arm. This is, I believe, called IO Ventures. So they'll be taking some of their money and then recycling it back into the ecosystem quite directly. So they'll be looking to fund more AI startups, get the AI startups to join the network here. And I believe use the funding to pay for the GPU usage that these new startups require. So they essentially will give them a free roll into the ecosystem, bring them on board. You can imagine that will be quite a powerful flywheel as more projects are then building on top of your network and utilizing your resources. And I was looking at some stats earlier. AWS made over $90 billion last year. So the total addressable market for a project like this, obviously very, very huge. They also will use a burn and mint model. So similar to Render, it says the IO token and IOSD, which will be a USD stablecoin, will have this kind of burn and mint equilibrium between one another. And so as the network is used more and more, it will require an increased amount of burning of the IO token into the USD token. So from listening to the kind of talks these guys have done, here is Ahmad, who is one of the founders. He's saying that there will be an increased amount of burn compared to the overall network emissions, and thus it would be deflationary. Obviously, we'll have to see how that pans out over time. But from listening to their talks, I've been really, really impressed with IONET. If you check this one out, essentially within this, he gives a full demo on a live stream of how to set up your own cluster. He then goes into the payments behind it. He shows you the payments he's received from one of his GPU rigs. And it is, I think, towards like $17 a day you can be making. So it kind of shows off that whatever angle you're in on this, if you want to actually supply some GPU power and get paid for doing so, it looks very lucrative to be doing that. And you can see on the flip side, again, there's a huge cost advantage of using these guys versus the likes of the incumbents at Amazon. And the fact, without actually having your own data center, you can use a cluster. And he shows in this video, which I highly recommend you go and check out, the UI on this thing is absolutely insane. You just go through and click the different resources you require. You can select and filter by location. Maybe you don't want to use certain jurisdictions, whatever. You state for how many hours you require these resources, and it tells you how much you owe. And then you've got your own compute power on demand. And in terms of business development that they've done, from listening into these conversations, it sounds like they have a ton of clients ready and waiting to be onboarded. And the amount of revenue that can be passing through here, and thus part of the IO coin circular network economy, it sounds like they are going to be absolutely cooking. So once I actually saw this video with the actual demo live, you can kind of see it's just going to cut out the middleman. You've got people who have got compute resources and then people who require compute resources, and they can meet at this marketplace and just pay that kind of 5 to 10% fee. Without those centralized middlemen, the costs are greatly reduced. It's kind of like what Uber was for taxis, but here with compute power. So I hope this one wet your whistle for AI coins. And if you're feeling like maybe you've already missed out on stuff, there's a load of really cool stuff coming to market this year. So get planning, understand what you maybe are interested in, check out which sectors maybe you would like to invest in if that is something you'd like to niche down into, and just take your time making your financial decisions yourself. This is not financial advice. Do your own research. All these coins could go to zero tomorrow. But that being said, I hope you enjoyed this one. I'll see you in my next one. Peace.